2 years after the launch of Vanilla WoW, the reopening of the Dark Portal in the Blasted Lands marked the beginning of a new era, the era of the Burning Crusade. 10 more levels, 7 new zones, new dungeons and raids, and much more to explore. But one of the most widespread additions is the plethora of new factions, characters, and stories to uncover. A whole new realm of lore to unpack and weave into the existing narratives of the Warcraft universe. For nearly 20 years, the demons of the Burning Legion had been kept away from Azeroth, but so had the Alliance expedition that traveled through the portal to defeat the corrupted horde so long ago. With a link to the planet Draenor, now known as Outland, re-established, it now falls to adventurers of the Alliance to not only vanquish fell threats in a dimension beyond their own, but to reconnect with any surviving warriors who remain on the other side. Members of their own faction thought lost forever on a dying world. This is the story of the Sons of Lothar, and what we find of them 20 years after the Second War. As always, thank you for the fun comments and support, and with all that being said, let's get right into it. When you first ride through the Dark Portal to Outland, you encounter an environment more inhospitable than nearly anything you've seen on Azeroth. The Stair of Destiny shepherds you down into Hellfire Peninsula, a rocky, barren wasteland warped by demonic energy and under siege by the Burning Legion, who have sensed the recent reopening of the portal. The Alliance and Horde expeditions have set up camp on either side of the stairs, stocking up equipment and summoning troops to help with the defense. While the Coalition keeps the demons at bay, you're sent to hitch a ride out of the war zone and deliver reports from the front lines. Right off the bat, the Griffin Master starts building the narrative theme for the Sons of Lothar we're soon going to encounter. By Muradin's beard, this land is on the brink of annihilation. I cannot imagine anyone survived here since the end of the Second War. As you make the flight to Honor Hold, you get a brief tour of the landscape and the threats that you'll soon be dealing with in this zone. Demons prowl near the Dark Portal, forming ranks and marching on the Stair of Destiny. Jets of flame shoot up from the crust, one of the many side effects of Draenor's cataclysmic destruction. Strange magical currents and planets are perched overhead, a byproduct of Outland's place within the twisting nether, an in-between dimension where time and space are stretched. Corrupted wildlife struggles to survive here, and the red earth below does little to support any kind of vegetation. This is a nearly dead environment, and survival here would surely be a challenge, but it's not impossible. Honor Hold comes into view, a bastion of the Alliance perched upon a rocky outcrop. Upon landing, you'll soon notice this is not a recent construction, but an aging fortress belonging to the surviving Sons of Lothar, the remnants of the Alliance expedition that traveled here nearly 20 years ago. The walls are crumbling, the banners are torn, and one of the two keeps is nothing but fire and rubble, and yet, the soldiers here stand resolute against the Legion, the Fell Orcs, and any others who would try to extinguish their foothold in Outland. The noble Honor Hold theme starts playing, and the immersion in my opinion is absolutely incredible. This is your rugged starting point on a brand new world. Now you have to defend it. You deliver the report to the Force Commander in the surviving keep, and to your surprise, it is none other than Danath Trollbane, a hero of the Second War long thought lost, and the leader of the Sons of Lothar, who are so named for Anduin Lothar, the High Commander of the Second War who fell in the climactic final battle. Danath is one of the 5 heroes immortalized in the Valley of Heroes all the way back in Stormwind, and is one of 3 who we meet during the Burning Crusade, along with the mage Khadgar in Shatrath City, and the warrior Kurdran Wildhammer at his stronghold in Shadowmoon Valley. Danath welcomes you to Honor Hold and encourages you to take up arms and join the fight against the enemies of the Alliance, starting you on some of the early missions here in Hellfire Peninsula. Honor Hold is perhaps one of the most detailed bases in the early editions of WoW given its size, and there are a lot of subtle clues and bits of dialogue to pick up on as you begin your journey in Outland. One detail you might pick up on are the ages of certain NPCs. Nearly every Honor Hold guard, archer, or Son of Lothar NPC appears to be middle-aged or older, with graying hair and older facial features, giving us visual clues that these were the original soldiers who ventured here decades ago. This is in contrast to the fresh recruits from Stormwind and Netherguard Keep who came here more recently to shore up the defenses. It's not a huge plot twist or anything, but I appreciate the attention to detail, and it's a unique dynamic of both young and old warriors training and completing tasks around town. Veterans of an endless war teaching and fighting alongside those stepping foot in this land for the first time. There's a Netherguard soldier who drops off some booze to the inn, and a scout who mounts up and heads off toward the Dark Portal, and dozens of other small interactions like the cavalry who patrol around. These scripted events make Honor Hold feel alive, and there are dozens of small interactions to look out for. Still not sure what Honor Guard Grain is all about. Maybe he's just enjoying some well-earned time off. Caretaker Delandris is the outlier here in terms of age. He oversees the Honor Hold graveyard and appears much younger than the other Sons of Lothar. But if you talk to him, he'll explain a bit about his past. I was born here. This is my world, all that I know. As a boy, my mother and father would regale me of tales of your world and the splendor it held. How I longed to leave this place. Alas, fate is a cruel mistress. My mother and father have long since passed, buried in this very graveyard. I remain to uphold their honor and the honor of my family, the Sons of Lothar. It's a tragic tale, but one that has probably repeated many times in the 20-year history of the expedition and its many losses. Warrant Officer Proudwell in the center of town calls it a bloody stalemate, but to me it seems more like a war of attrition, with the humans gradually being worn down by years of conflict and a dwindling amount of resources. Luckily, the portal reopened in time, and now there's a somewhat steady stream of reinforcements making it to the Citadel. There are two other scripted interactions that happen here in Honor Hold that I wanted to talk about. The first is the route of Magus Philanthus, the resident wizard who is rather upset at the sudden turn of events here in Hellfire. While it seems most of the NPCs are hopeful and reinvigorated with the arrival of those from Azeroth, this mage seemed content with maintaining the status quo here in Outland. What manner of fool opens the very thing we were sent to close? I have a good mind to tear down that portal myself. This is outrageous. Don't you start with me, Cid. Have it sent to my quarters in the tower. Your inn has become a zoo. The mage has a path down from his tower, over to the keep to see the commander, then to the inn where he demeans the innkeeper before teleporting away. His route takes about 12 minutes total, and if you time it right, you can even see him reappear at the top of the tower to begin another lap. Part of me thinks this guy just represents the mentality of disliking change, but on a deeper level, he could also resent the newfound danger the portal now poses to Azeroth. The Sons of Lothar have had 20 years to come to terms with the fact that they're probably not returning home, and the sacrifice they made to safeguard their homeworld is now a bit more up in the air. Just something to think about. Our final and most important character to analyze here in Honor Hold is Eretor the Redeemer, a half-elf paladin who ventured through the portal to look for a sign of his parents, Illyria and Turalyon, the final two of the 5 memorialized in the Valley of Heroes. Both of them are referenced a few times throughout the Burning Crusade, and while we never see or hear from either of them during this time period, it is a curious story point nonetheless. Eretor has a scripted route that begins at the inn and takes him all the way up to the keep to meet Danath, just as you did not so long ago. Here are a few key bits from the dialogue. I am Eretor, son of Turalyon and Illyria. By the light, Eretor, your father and I were the best of friends. Oh, the battles we fought, and the battle we lost. I'm sorry, Eretor, it was my fault. Little Eretor, is that you? Aye, Commander, but I am little no more. I have come to find my father. Have you any news to his whereabouts? I know he still lives. I have seen it in my dream. I am afraid that I do not, Eretor. I have not seen or heard from your father in 15 years. From the bounds of Hellfire to the ravages of Nogrand, we searched. All for naught. As long as he remains unfound, I will search. I know that he lives. I am at your service, my lord. As I mentioned, this story isn't ever resolved in the Burning Crusade, and we never even meet the missing couple until the Legion expansion, but it's still a fun reminder that some NPCs we encounter in WoW have quests of their own. their own ambitions and trials they wish to undertake in this vast world. If you talk with Eretor, he elaborates a bit on his dream, giving us one final cryptic bit of text to add to the mystery. Do your dreams change? Mine do not. I have one dream. A crimson skyline envelops me as legion, numbering beyond comprehension, battle in the distance. I kneel before the body of a man, presumably my father, and weep. As he is gasping for air, his body wholly crushed, he whispers something. Despite every effort, I am unable to hear what he is trying to tell me. There's nothing more to note here except for a single quest from Father Malgor Davidicus, who Eretor was talking to earlier. Despite being deep in his drink, the priest recalls a sacred tome, Mysteries of the Light, that Turalyon had gifted to him before he departed. You can recover the book at the ruined expedition armory to the south, and once you return it to its owner, the priest says, "It's the only token I have of Turalyon. When you fight beside someone for so many years, they become closer than even family." Family and connections, made and broken, have been a central theme of Honorhold and those who still call it home. And to end on today, I'd like to mention two other familial connections that relate to the Sons of Lothar. One involves Warrant Officer Tracy Proudwell, who is the PvP vendor for Alliance players in the zone, and seems to be a member of the Sons of Lothar. She might be related to Agent Proudwell, a soldier of the Argent Dawn who was only in the game for 1 week during the opening of the Dark Portal event that took place in the Blasted Lands right before the Burning Crusade launched. Two potential family members, both fighting for humanity on opposite sides of the Dark Portal. The final reference is another that's easy to miss on your leveling journey, but it has just enough detail to definitely be intentional. As Alliance players continue to level in Hellfire Peninsula, they're sent around the zone to take out Burning Legion encampments and eventually end up at Shatter Point, a small landmass that's broken off from the mainland and contains a fragmented guard tower. Here, you might come across Supply Officer Pestle, a food and general goods vendor for the soldiers here. His name might sound familiar already, but his rather lighthearted gossip text gives us some more info. "My brothers in Stormwind told me not to join the military. I'm glad I didn't listen to them." I guess this means there's one person pretty content living out here in the Wasteland. The mention of Stormwind gives us another clue as to his family connections. How about one more detail? The commander inside the tower even says the following when you reach the floating island. "If you're feeling queasy, speak with Pestle. He might have something for motion sickness." With all this evidence in mind, I think we're looking at the long-lost brother of William and Morgan Pestle, the brothers found in Goldshire and Stormwind who run Pestle's apothecary shop in the Trade District. Like all the rest of these folks, he's a long way from home, but at least he seems to have made peace with this move to Outland. And so it is with the dozens, hundreds of other Sons of Lothar that have fought, struggled, and survived here. They each have their own story, relatives back on Azeroth, and I think it's one of the more impactful bits of storytelling here at the start of your Outland adventure. An entire expedition of humans and their allies lost for 20 years, now at last on the path to victory in an endless war, and maybe one day, a road home. Thank you all so much for watching. I really enjoyed finding all these small details and connections embedded within Honorhold and its surroundings, and while the other Alliance bases all across Outland capture a fraction of this nostalgic and long-lost feeling, they don't come close to all the great details from the Sons of Lothar in this zone. This video marks the start of the Outland Residency, a small series of episodes focusing on the Burning Crusade expansion and the intricacies hidden within. For those of you checking out TBC Anniversary right now, or if you're just a fan of Outland's lore and world, I hope you enjoy. A special thank you to my channel members who provide bonus support for these videos, and until next time, may the Force be with you.